Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so today we're going to be talking about the compensation. And no, this isn't going to be the mopey complainy thread as many people want it to be, nor it is going to be me trying to justify the compensation that has been sent out. Instead, it's going to be a discussion about how this compensation is evaluated and whether it actually functions fairly, or perhaps there is a better way to do this. Now, first things first that we do need to understand is that I think it's very important for people to accept the fact that it is extremely difficult, time-consuming, and borderline impossible for Kabam to go through account by account and mark down how much each account has used and then refund it exactly. So these compensations are extremely unlikely to be ever perfect. Instead, Kabam needs to use some sort of system. The system that they are currently allegedly using is they are comparing the average item use for people prior to fixing the issue, let's say with the Venom Pool fight, to the average item use for people after they had fixed it. They basically calculate the difference, and then they adjust the compensation for each time you encountered the Venom Pool or whatever else was busted. So if they have counted basically that you entering the fight one time equates to like one health potion and one revive, and then depending how many times on how many of these fights you enter, that is how they count it. Which in itself is really flawed process. But that is what they are doing. I'm not trying here to necessarily defend it. The problem here lies in the vast discrepancy, first of all, because obviously, like, we have people like here that received one level 5 health potion, one level 2 revive. That is either for starting the fight or finishing the fight. I'm not even sure how much this represents. But then we also have the full-on compensation. The compensation that I received is 22 potions and 10 revives, which is significantly more than I used. In fact, I didn't use a single item for Venom Pool fight. Therefore, by definition, I didn't really need a compensation. I didn't want a compensation. And if we are absolutely honest, I also don't really have any, well, need or desire for it. As a matter of fact, I can't even claim those revives right now because they would just go in overflow and expire. Unless I do a random stream where I waste 10 revives, basically. Which should not be, well, the result of me being compensated for something that I was not affected. So it is quite clear that there are two very different groups right now. One group is the people who did a ton of that content because that Venom Pool didn't really bother them, who had the apocalypse or had the other means to clear that fight effectively, didn't really use the items and got vastly overcompensated. And we have a group of people who went in there with good faith in Kabam, tried to do that fight, failed, probably used a bunch of revives, ton of items, and got back very little. In which aspect, obviously, there is a huge group of people right now that are quite unhappy with Kabam. And even by definition, doing things this way pretty much ensures that half of your player base is going to get less than they used. Because as soon as you use the average, that means that vast majority is going to be either over or under in terms of items that they used. It means there's going to be about 50% of people who are very happy, receive more, and you know, for them it's like awesome. And then there's going to be a huge group of people who will not be happy. And you can color me very idealistic, but I personally believe that when you are trying to look for a solution, by default, you ought to be looking for a solution that satisfies more than half. The entire goal for these systems or figuring out how to calculate the compensation is to satisfy as many people as possible. And this is one of the kind of like clear-cut, cutthroat ways how you can make sure half satisfied, half dissatisfied by using mathematical averages, comparing this and that. And the more instances like this we experience, and let's be honest, this isn't the first, this won't be the last. We had similar situations with Summer Pain Collector. We had similar situations in past with different boss fights as well. I think it's time that we talk about different way of calculating these compensations. Now, don't get me wrong, I never expected these compensations to be anything but revives and health potions, but obviously it would be nice if they would include some energy refills, perhaps, because there are people who cleared the path to the boss and got stuck and had to back out, so wasted energy there. And obviously there are people who also boosted up for that fight, so perhaps some champion boost would be in order, but in its essence, these compensations will always be about revives and potions. I also do not expect Kabam to magically be able to go account per account and compensate people the exact amount that they use, nor I would want them to spend that much time on a compensation. I'd rather them spend that time on making sure there is no need for another compensation to be sent out ever again. With that, I mean to say is that I think that figuring out the exact amount of compensation and taking tons of time in doing so is not the best use of anybody's time working for Kabam. Directly, the best use of those people's time is to do what they were actually hired to do, and that is either to create the content, to test the content, or so on and so forth. So what would be a relatively easy and safe kind of way that perhaps would not necessarily, again, solve everybody's problems, but at the very least aim to solve more people's problems? Because as of right now, the largest compensations that we have seen largely have gone to the people who absolutely did not need it, because the only people who actually explored the variant 8 are the people who did not use the items. However, ironically, they are the ones that got the largest compensations. Like, I don't know, Legacy, I know, got full compensation. I got a full compensation, and many other top tier players, which by definition are the players who need this compensation the least. And therefore, I suggest a very, very maybe straightforward, maybe blunt tool. And that is to set the minimum amount of compensation that ought to be sent out to people. And then, if need be, if Kabam is worried for over-delivering the items, then cut down the items from the top compensated players. Because in situations like this, the people who don't have, or would end up using a ton of items, people who go on and keep exploring knowing that the Venom Pool is bugged and busted are not the people who need the most of resources in the game. So I think it's perfectly fine to cap this compensation much lower. In my case, even if I got in half what they sent me, if they sent me 5 revives, 10 potions, I'd still have gotten much more than I spent on the entire variant 8 total. So I guess my suggestion would be is cap the maximum amount of items sent out for players like me, because we really don't need it. It's like, it's neat, it's nice, but it's not essential by any means. But at the same time, increase the minimum to, let's say, I don't know, 10 potions and 5 revives, or 8 potions and 4 revives, or something like that, to a point where that could actually realistically cover the cost. So I guess that would be my suggestion to Kabam, where I understand that, can't be perfectly fair for everybody. But as of right now, these compensations clearly miss the target. The people who need these items the most are not getting them, and people who need these items the least like myself really, are getting the biggest compensations. And they literally serve no purpose. So let me know, what do you guys think how Kabam should handle these compensation issues? So my idea is fairly simple. Put a lower maximum limit that they send out, but increase the minimum. So long as, even if you try the Venom Pool fight once, you get the 4 revives, 8 potions, or something like that. Anyhow, let me know what you guys think, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the